wife is probably pissed. Take that off. Take that off. And then we're gonna have to push this thing from here. How was it?
Rusty.
Huh?
Rusty.
Rusty?
And dirty.
Yeah. But it's got these sweet wheels that came off a Chevy. There's the original. All right, well, we're gonna try to push it over there. Yeah, and then go from there. All right, so we are back in the lab. We're gonna try to see if we can get this Courier started. I want to get it started and running to see if it will start and run, or if we need to just go ahead and yank the motor and try to figure out something. It's got a bad clutch in it, so before I go and put a clutch in it, I want to see if we can get it running. Went ahead and put a battery in it, made sure that the truck didn't catch on fire, so we're going to go ahead and attempt to see if it starts. So here's to hoping. About what I figured. Starter's clicking, so the solenoid on it at least is engaging. We're going to try a couple things. I'm going to check all these fuses out. It's got these glass style fuses in it, and I'm going to beat on the starter a little bit. Also check, make sure it's got appropriate voltage going to it. And then if all that bodes well, we'll try to start it again a couple times. And then might actually try to turn it by the crank, make sure that the motor's not actually locked up and that the starter isn't just binding. But a couple things we're going to try out, and then we shall go from there. All right, we don't have it running yet, but did make some good progress. First things first, we had a bunch of these blown glass fuses, so I'm going to have to replace those. I'm not exactly sure what all they go to. I'm gonna have to pull some schematics. The other good thing that we found out is the motor is not locked up, which is a really good sign. But when you turn the key on the ignition, all you get is a clicking, similar to this. So it's engaging to the solenoid on the starter, but that solenoid isn't delivering to the actual starter motor. And I went ahead and tugged on the crank for a minute, make sure it wasn't bound up. And then after doing a little bit of digging, we got to this point where you can jumper and get the motor to turn over, but there's no fuel going to it. I'm pretty sure that fuel tank is just completely dried out. So I'm gonna check a couple more things, probably see if I can put some fuel in it. If not, we'll just get this gas can and probably feed directly from this line right here, see if we can get some fuel in there. And also at the same time, I will be checking for spark. So it's got a distributor right there, and I will be checking the points on that, cleaning it, so on, to make sure we got spark. Once we got fuel, once we got spark, we should potentially be able to start. Doesn't sound like it has any compression issues from, you know, just the little turning it over that I did. So we'll see if we can get it running. I'm excited. Pretty cool little truck. It's a turd, but it's still a pretty cool little truck. we're gonna go ahead and let this battery charge overnight and try to get back at it again in the morning. See you then. Alright, so we were consistently having a problem with the starter. Every time I would try something and go to jump the starter, it would turn over sometimes, then sometimes the Bendix would get stuck. So we went ahead and pulled the starter, which is pretty easy. There are just 2 bolts going through the transmission. Then you've got this nut, and that's your main power. And then this is your starter whatever wire that goes from the solenoid. And went ahead and got a replacement from none other than Rock Auto. I don't know why this is here. I have to look at it a little bit more, but it looks to be the same. So we're gonna slap that in, and then I think what we're going to go ahead and do is I want to pull this tank, fuel tank, make sure that we've got some fresh fuel in it, and if there's any water or debris in there that we cleaned it out. And then we're going to just pull the spark plugs on this thing, which will be quick, hopefully, and check the points on the distributor. And then we will see about putting some fresh fuel in it and trying to fire it up. I've got it actually hooked up to a switch because I don't have the actual key able to turn it on. So the switch is just going to be hooked to the main power, and then the starter solenoid coil wire, whatever it is. But should just be able to, once I get it in there, just click that, test it for its turnover. It's actually a pretty simple removal, just those 2 bolts like I stated, but then I had to take this little air box off that I don't know what exactly it's for, in order to be able to fish the starter out from here. So I'm going to have to put the new starter back in this direction, wire it, and then we'll be able to put those bolts in, and then I'm going to go ahead and raise it up, knock them in, and go from there. Oh yeah, also we went ahead and got all brand new glass fuses. Couldn't tell that there was anything wrong with them, or with a few of them, and I don't necessarily know where they lead, and though these don't really lead to anything, which is obvious, but yeah. So got a couple dollars invested in it thus far, but we will hopefully get this turd up and running pretty quick.
Keyanno.
Alright. So something got hot. Really hot.
Keyanno.
So somewhere it looks like the main power wire is shorting, which is takes it to the path of least resistance, which would be this point right here. But definitely that main battery cable that's getting hot. I wonder if it's touching that. Why doesn't my Alright, so we are under the Courier and going to look at this fuel tank. Pretty interesting little setup here. The fuel tank is actually hanging out right here. It's a little bitty guy. I don't even know how big that is. That's probably, man, 8, 9, maybe more, 10 gallons. But it's a little bitty guy, but it's got this little drain tube drain right here. So we're gonna pop that out, and we're just gonna see what's in here. Maybe if it's not too bad, I won't pull it. If nothing but dirt comes out and I can't really see what's going on, I pull it. And it looks like this right here is our fuel pump. Haven't really looked into it too much, but it's got 12 volts supply going to it. If you look right here, you can see a little fuel filter. So maybe if there's nothing in there, we can put a couple of gallons in there and then see if it'll prime and then go from there. If not, we'll probably have to do some digging into this little fuel pump, see what we can find. Whatever's going on up there, it's a little rigged up, so if we can't get any fuel, we'll probably just end up dropping the tank anyways and go from there. Doesn't look to be too difficult. A couple bolts over here, a couple bolts over here. We use our transmission jack and pop it out. But maybe we won't have to do that. Maybe we'll get lucky. So here's to hoping. I want to go ahead and film this because I have no idea of what to expect coming out of this fuel tank. I also don't know what size this is. Definitely bigger than that. $19 it is. Honestly, I'm hoping nothing's coming out of here. I'm hoping it's pretty clean, whatever. Oof. Yeah. I don't have a drain pan yet, or a drain bucket yet. But I will get one at some point. I'm glad that didn't break. Glad the bed didn't snap. Looks like there is. Oof. Woo. That smells terrible. What are you doing, Odin? Hi, puppers. Come here. Hi, baby. Hi, baby. Alright, I'm going to let that drain and I'm going to go get my gas can. I should have about 4 or 5 gallons. I'm only going to put a couple gallons in it. Yes, I do actually have to drop this thing. But yeah, I'm going to let that drain out, put some fresh gas in it, see where we're at. Alright, so adding fresh fuel, even though it was a good thing, it did not fix our issue. So I was reading just to make sure that these Couriers actually came with an electric fuel pump, and it turns out they do. This is just a simple 2-line fuel pump, and it's a 12 volt. So there's the feed, and there's the side that goes to the motor. And then if you look, you've got this black wire right here and this white wire right here. That's your 12-volt supply. This black wire goes to ground, which is right there. This 12-volt, I don't know where it's fed from in particular. I do know that it goes up in here. Let me turn the light on. It goes up in here into this little harness, and this harness actually goes right back here, and then all the way down the frame rail up here, and then it loops and goes right here, and then up into a pigtail. So what I want to do, just to try to eliminate messing with a bunch of stuff right this moment, is I'm going to take this white wire, pull it back where it looks like it's already been spliced in before into this black wire, take that off, clean it up a little bit, and then I'm going to use my handy dandy I don't know what you call it, trigger, hook it up to 12-volt supply, which would be the battery, and see if that pump will run. If I can hear that pump run, then I'm actually going to try to start it again. And then if it does not run, I will be looking at replacing that pump, and then looking to figure out exactly where that harness goes to, or if that wire is any good. That's going to be pretty easy. All I have to do is just a resistance check from here to where it ends up over there, and test all the wires that way, see if those are good, and then go from there. But it should be on a key. I'm thinking, probably can't see up here, but there is a little harness back there. You might already be able to see it where it plugs in, and it actually goes up to this fuse block. So I am thinking that that is probably where our fuse pump fuse is. Jesus. Okay, there we go. And yeah, it would be pretty easy to figure all this out if we had a proper diagram, Haynes manual, something, but I haven't been able to find anything. Fortunately, this is a pretty basic setup, unlike what we got going on over here with our little fox body, which you can see. Got some mad scientist stuff going on back here. That is very, very simple in comparison. So we're going to test this fuel pump. Prayers that it works. That would be awesome. Maybe we can actually get this thing started today, instead of having to go back to the parts store and order more crap. Alright. Alright. So we hooked this up. I've got one end of the trigger right here. The other end I didn't get all the way to the battery. I got it up to that fuse block, the glass fuse block that's up there. But looky here. And you can see the fuel making moves in the fuel bowl. So we're going to lower this thing a little bit. I didn't even put it on locks. Let's see. Alright, so I removed the distributor cap, and I filmed me turning the vehicle over while looking to see if the rotor, I guess is what it's called, was spinning. So I actually had to film it. That would be a really nice time to have a second pair of eyes, but it is what it is. Rotor looked fine. Everything looked fine. If you zoom in real close here, you can see a little triangle, Diamond Star Motors, DSM. If you know anything about DSMs, DSM stands for something other than Diamond Star Motors, but we won't get into that. So I pulled one of the plugs, and you can do it like this. You can pull it, and then you can put it against something that's like a ground, or something that's, you know, attached to the chassis. I guess it does have to be a ground. And then when you go and you crank on it, you should see it arc. Just that wasn't the case. So if you look at these plugs look like they haven't ever had anything done to them. So I think that the last person that might have tried to get this car to run, or thing to run, put new plugs in it, may have put new wires, I don't know. These look like aftermarket, but they're kind of ate up, so they might just be new plugs. And they might have put a new distributor cap on this and then thought that, you know, they couldn't get it, so it just sat forever. I had to dig back in my thought process here and remember that we have an ignition coil. The ignition coil is what provides the spark to the distributor to allow that to be distributed to each cylinder. Well, look at this ignition coil. This wire goes to nowhere. If you look at the opposite side there, there's no wire at all coming from that. So these are pretty simple. It's just I believe a constant hot. I've got to look again. A constant hot, and then a switchable ignition ground. So probably gonna, first I need to figure out which one it is, see if that works, and then see if we can get some spark going. But I'm gonna go ahead and remove this battery hold down, I guess is what this is, and all this other crap, and see if I can actually find out where those wires went, which actually I might have found out already. But if not, then we'll have to rig up some stuff here and then see if we can get it to start. Alright, so a little update on where we're at with the truck. It's actually been sitting here for a few days now. We haven't gotten any progress on it because after doing a little bit more troubleshooting, figured out that I do indeed have a bad ignition coil. Ignition coil is not an expensive piece of equipment, but you know, the idea originally was just to see if we could get this motor to pop off, which it can't until we replace that ignition coil and do some wiring changes. You can maybe see down in here, there's just all kinds of wiring that's messed up. Oh yeah, right down in here is pretty good. Maybe you can see that, maybe you can't, but realistically, did the assessment on the truck, found a bunch of wiring issues and so on and so forth. Not that we can't get it fixed, but honestly, I just don't want to waste my time anymore on this, because we do have an actual real update. I have always wanted to do a TDI swap, and it turns out that I acquired this bad boy. I wouldn't call it a bad boy, actually. I acquired this Volkswagen Bug for 800 bucks, complete with a 1.9 liter TDI. It's 5-speed, so on. Cool stuff. And I will be working to get this car disassembled and parted out, and then we will be using that motor to go back into the Courier. Also, in the back of my truck, I have a W56 Toyota transmission and quite a few other little swap goodies that we can use for the TDI swap. So that'll be the next project coming out of this, and yeah, hopefully we'll actually get started on this pretty quickly. But for now, the Courier is going to get closed up and get off the lift. We're going to do some other work first, and then we will get back to the Courier. So kind of a fail episode really of this channel. We didn't get the truck running, but not that we couldn't, but I just don't want to spend any more money, even if it is, you know, 20-30 bucks, because it still needs a clutch, still needs a bunch of work to actually get moving. So don't want to do all that extra work, and I'd rather just put the effort and time into starting the swap process. But yeah, there you go. That is going to wrap it up for the first video of the Courier, and I will assure you there will be plenty more. All right, take care.